We're gonna start by degreasing and cleaning the bike so we can work more comfortably. So we can install the new Polini High-Speed Variator. Then after you leave it like for 10-15 minutes, you let it sit very nicely, and the parts where you must see like grease build up, you can get a brush and go over it. You want to give it a really nice rinse because you want to get rid of that heavy duty degreaser. So give it a good rinse to the whole engine. You obviously want to be careful with the electric part. What you want to do is, if you have an air compressor or a blower or something, you want to dry the whole engine pretty well before you start it or anything, before it's ready for work. Let's get started. I'm going to be installing the new Maxi Hi-Speed Polini Variator kit with the 9 rollers. This thing is actually pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about this. Let's get into it. So all the tools you're gonna need, you wanna start by having a couple of bottle brake cleaners so you can clean up all the components, the inside of the CVT cover. You also wanna make sure that you get yourself the right tools to do the job. This is the tool to remove the clutch, tool to remove the variator with the spacer and the nut. You got the replacing new nut for the variator, which is always good to replace once you remove it the first time. All you're gonna need is a Phillips screwdriver, a 6mm Allen key, obviously a torque wrench so you can put everything at the right torque, a bigger wrench, a smaller one. Also, you're gonna need the 8mm socket with the extension arm, a 19mm socket to remove the variator and the clutch nut, and a 10mm. Let's get into it. So we're gonna start by removing this panel. To be able to do that, we need to remove our footrest here. It's on the way. Then you got a simple fastener here in the bottom, and you want to grab your 10mm socket, and you want to find the nut that is right here on the back. You also want to have in hand some needle pliers. You want to remove that fastener right there and that one over there, and you're gonna remove that one over there. Like in your case, if you have the original cover, you can just like take it out, but on my case I have this moving one. The nut with the washer. The first thing you want to check when you remove it, this bearing right here, you want to make sure that's very smooth, right? This one is pretty nice. I don't feel or hear anything going on there. So once we are inside here in the CVT cover, the first thing you want to do just to keep things nice and clean is just put your dipstick on it so you don't get any dust or anything. The next thing you want to check after the bearings is this. This want to move like freely, it doesn't want to have any play. It's very nice and smooth. Grab our tool to remove the variator. You got 5mm Allen key, so you want to go ahead and place that into the slot. You have actually two slots where you can place this tool. You can actually place it right here or place it right here. You want to put the washer first, and you want to put the tool, and then you want to put the spacer in. When you have set that correctly, it's nice and snug in there. Doesn't move anything around. You want to grab your big wrench, 19mm socket. You can go ahead and remove your tool. This is the nut that we're going to be replacing with the new one. You want to replace always that nut when you remove it. I'm not sure the reason why, but the manufacturer always recommends it, so you can throw this one to the trash. Then you got a washer here with a special, I don't know if you can see clearly from there, but if you want to grab a marker, don't forget the position of it, because you have like a rounded part that it sits in place. I don't know if you notice it. See, this part is like sticking out a little bit more, and this is like going into the inside. If you can tell the difference between them, you can just like with a marker put a mark on it, so it's facing, the one is facing to the front. That other washer, you got those two washers, so you want to put those in the side. You just want to remove it uniformly. Doesn't look too bad. You can feel those grooves in there. You got 8,000 miles, so it's actually not too bad here, but yeah, I recommended to replace like 12,000 miles, I believe. A washer here, remove that washer. Then we can remove the actual belt. There we go, and actually remove it. Got the old belt. Now your variator. Okay, so let's proceed to unbox the Polini Maxi Hi-Speed Variator. In the box, you're gonna get a little bit of the special grease that Polini recommend using in their Variator. Also gonna have your shaft, and you also have this little cap with the spring. You got the shoes, and we got the rollers, Polini roller. Got 9 rollers. It's gonna feel really awesome. I believe this is 9.2 grams. You can see there, got 9 rollers of 9.2 grams for this baby. Set that in there. We got also the spring for our clutch. We're gonna be installing that baby in. Set that in there. And we got the nice high-speed Variator from Building. Look at that, brand new. Looks beautiful, man. I wish this remains like that. Everything is brand new. So let's proceed and get this ready for install. We're gonna be disassembling this nut right here. We're gonna need a 46 socket, so we're probably gonna head to the store and buy that socket because we don't have any that big here. So I head to the store to AutoZone, and the biggest socket they have was 45, and it didn't work, so I have to buy this one. So let's give it a shot, see if we can remove that nut with this adjustable wrench. You shouldn't do it with adjustable wrench. You should just buy the right socket. Make sure you buy the right tools before you get your hands into it. We're gonna be installing the spring right now into the clutch, so that's the part we're gonna be using. We're gonna bring our clutch. This is spring gonna be installing. A nice Polini. The way you do this is you should have the tool that compress the whole clutch in place, because this spring is a very strong spring, so you want to be careful. Do it the right way. The way we're gonna be attempting to do it is gonna be stepping on top of the thing here, trying to press it down where we break that free. So let's get into it. So with a couple of taps with the hammer and the big wrench, I thought I was not gonna make it. I was about to give up, honestly, but I got the nut already loose. I will break that free. But now what you wanna be careful with it is that I'm gonna try to use these clamps. I'm gonna put them just slightly. I'm just not gonna press or anything. You can see it's now completely loose, so you want to push your shoe on top of it. You want to release one of the clamps lightly first, set it down, and release the other one, pull it out, and then with your feet, there we go, that's it. We're break dust free. So just with a couple clamps, adjustable wrench, and a big hammer, you can do the job. So here's our clutch. So usually the rattle noise that you hear in the bike comes from this blade. So if this blade is loose, I'll suggest just replacing the whole clutch assembly, but this one seems to be pretty tight in there. We're gonna give it a nice clean. These are the springs I'm gonna be replacing. You want to be careful and you want to keep this piece that is in here in the top. I'm gonna put that on the side. You can see the difference of the strength of both. See, you can grab the piece like this and you want to twist it like that. You can feel how smooth that is, and you can actually hear you still have some grease on it. Check the seal. Okay, remember to put your safety goggles up. Mostly here in the inside. When we have cleaned out the whole clutch in the inside, look how nice and clean it is now into the inside. This one still have plenty life to it, so we're not gonna be changing this clutch just yet. But maybe in the future we're gonna put a performant one, so stay tuned for that. We also clean it up this. We also wanna check this if we have good, movement here. We're gonna be applying a new grease in those bearings. It seems to be pretty well. It doesn't need to be serviced just yet. Maybe, in at 12,000 miles, I can change the whole assembly maybe, or use services. Let me know if you guys wanna see a video on how to service one of those things and change the seals and, put new grease on it. It's pretty simple, it takes a little time, but pretty simple if you have the right tools. And so we're gonna proceed and put the new spring, the new Polini spring. It's actually pretty simple. You want to put obviously facing with the logo facing to the top. I don't know if that matters, but for me it does. Then you want to put your clutch assembly, and this is gonna be the hard part for me because I don't have the right tools for that. I'm gonna try to put the clutch in the right position. Maybe you can ask for some help if you have a friend or someone around that can help you. When you push this down, they screw the knot. But in my case, I'm just gonna put the knot there. I'm just gonna press this down. There we go. See how I'm doing? It's a little hard. Once you put the nut in, give it a few threads, and sure you are good to go. You should torque this if you have the socket around 60 pounds. We're gonna tie it down until we can. See, we don't have any plate. Remove the clutch. You can try to twist the plate. Feel the tension, it's way stronger. And you're good to go. So we're now gonna proceed and clean the old grease in the inside here. And we're gonna apply some new grease on it and get it ready for installation. Let's continue with it. Let's now proceed and prepare the Polini High-Speed Variator. So let's prepare and open everything. So here we have the oil spring. We also got the little plastic cap that is gonna be used to install the pin. This is only just for temporary use for installation. Then here we got our pin. Man, look at that beautiful thing. I don't want to even install it. We got our roller here. So I'm gonna open those yet. Our shoes. Got our plate. Look at that beautiful thing. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, you want to grab your pin, and you can see inside the pin there is a little groove, a little gap. If you put your finger through, you can feel there is a little gap on it. You have to fill that gap with the grease they provide in the kit. Pour a little bit of that grease in there, not too much, you just want to fill up that gap, and then we have to fill up those gaps in here. So if you take a closer look here, so you gotta fill up that gap in there where I'm pointing right with the Phillips screwdriver in that line. There's a little gap in there that you want to fill up with the grease in both sides, in that side and in this one right here. See that gap right there? And I'm pointing with the tip of the screwdriver, that one right there. This gap, you gotta fill up that gap all around it with grease. For this old spring, you're gonna place it in the inside like that. and it's gonna sit in place into that gap, as you can see there. And you gotta put some grease in there so the spring sits in place. You also want to have ready your pad. Pads only goes in certain way. The rounded part goes facing to the bottom like that. The conic part goes facing to the top. So you want to press those in. You want to have everything ready. Make sure you have this in hand. You don't lose it, because this is what is going to push that spring into place. Because when you put this inside, the spring is not going to let it go inside. So this bushing, since that conic part you see there, see how it's like kind of conic there, that's gonna push that spring. It's gonna open it up and enlarge it until that is, you know, sit in place into the pin. So you're gonna place this in there after you put the grease, and you're gonna push the pin with that inside. And this is gonna push the bushing, open it up, enlarge it, and this piece is gonna come out from the back, and you're gonna remove it. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna fill up the pin with the grease. So you wanna pour, you know, push it in like that. It's gonna be a little difficult to not get messy, but pour that in there. There you go, you see that piece of grease, and then with my finger I'm gonna try to, you know, fill that gap all around it. You just put your finger all the way like that, and, you know, try to fill the gap. See? Nice and filled with grease. Clean up the excess in the outside. We're gonna have a rag in hand, so you clean up all the grease, and then you wanna pour a little bit on the inside where the butch is. See it? Put a little bit there, and try to, you know, go all around it. You just wanna fill that gap with a lot of grease. So once you put your finger like that, you see how it's completely flat. That's when you know you gotta stop. So you wanna go over all around and make sure it's completely filled up with the grease. Once it's completely filled up, make sure you don't have anything left at all. We put quite a bit of grease. You now want to remove the excess. So I'm gonna clean up my shelf first. And you can grab your piece, clean it up, because you don't want to have your variator greasy. Clean the outside. Okay, so once we have cleaned up pretty well the whole variator, it's not greasy on the outside, because you don't want to have a greasy variator, trust me. You can see how we fill up the whole thing in the inside. Everything is filled up with the grease. Yeah. You're gonna apply a little more in this one, because they say to apply quite a lot. So you wanna grab a clean rag, a little humid with water, and you don't wanna clean this up very well. Make sure it's nothing greasy. So before you insert the roller, the first thing you want to do is you want to insert this plastic pin. So you want to go ahead and install that there, and you want to press this uniformly. So you want to go ahead and press that like that, evenly, like they say. So you press down that bushing, so it's going to come out from the inside, and you're going to push that inside until this one comes out. And that's it. You just clean up that grease. make sure it's nice and clean. And then we can proceed to install the rollers. So the way you install your rollers, in this case with the high-speed Polini Performance, we got 9 rollers. The way you install this, you see how one face is plastic and the other one is metal. So you want to put the metal facing clockwise. You always on the rollers want to have a plastic surface and a metal. The metal one goes facing clockwise. So let's proceed into that. So once you have installed that, then you want to grab your plate and push it into the outside like that. And you want to grab this like a sandwich. Okay. Then you want to grab your whole assembly like that. Make sure it's no grease into the outside, anything here in the inside. I'm gonna go ahead and proceed, engage that into the shaft all the way in. Clean up the excess of the grease here in the shaft. Okay, so after we have torque this to the right torque, which is around 60 foot-pounds, we're gonna apply a little bit of the grease at the Polini. We're gonna take advantage and we're gonna apply grease to those bearings here in the clutch, because those need to be greased. Since this is a really high quality grease, we're gonna use that to fit those bearings here. After you have applied a good amount of grease in there, we take advantage that with Polini send our nice high quality grease and we apply that all inside there. We got all this nice and torqued. The way I torqued this, since I didn't have the right socket and I couldn't use my torque wrench, you see I put a marker with the marker. I put a mark in there, so when I was with the wrench, I put the big wrench in there and then I hammer it, and I used the mark as an indicator that I was tying in the knot itself, because it was, you know, kind of tricky to do it like that. Now we're gonna proceed and put the belt. We got our new belt here from Piaggio. We're gonna be installing the Piaggio because this one people claim to be the one that lasts longer, and you know, Polini recommend you to use with their Variator the corresponding Polini belt, but we're gonna keep using the Piaggio one because this one is obviously the best for the scooter. So you wanna pay attention to those hardware that you have here. You wanna put those pointing towards the front of the scooter. The way you're gonna do this, you're gonna press down the belt first into the slot here. So we're gonna press this down here, put the belt in the middle of the both plates, and then we're gonna proceed and mount everything in place. Maybe you can use a rack because these things are pretty sharp, so you can put your hands more comfortably, and then you wanna twist that like that, see? There you go. Now once you have your belt inside the clutch, you wanna come down here and slide that in. Pull up the belt. There we go. You can grab your cap after you sand it down and you break that glaze. It's nice and clean. You want to grab your washer, the one that was here before, remember? You're gonna grab that and place it in here into that little gap, and then you want to slide this in there. And you got two washers, remember? You got the flat one, it goes all the way flat in there, and then you got this, remember the shape of this one, it goes into certain position. This part, the part that goes like rounder into the inside, goes facing in, and the rounded part that is like into the outside goes facing out like that. Okay? And you want to put those two and bring your new nut, get the starter. Some people like to put some Loctite in here. Right now I don't have any, so I'm not gonna apply any just yet. I'm gonna do it later. And you put your nut there, and then we're gonna look for the torque wrench and put that there at the right torque. I'm gonna put our belt, your drum belt, slide that in, and it should be good to go. You're ready to put the correct torque. Once that is there, we're gonna torque that between 60 and 65 foot-pounds. So we're gonna proceed and put our torque set or torque ring 65. I always like to put a little more than you actually need to. I always like to make things tight. I'm gonna go ahead and put that into 65. Go ahead and put that. There we go. There we go. Set that on the side. Remove our tool and save this in a safe place for your next service. I always like to put the foot pumps here so I don't forget them. And we're gonna proceed and torque and mount the CVT cover. As you can see, I'm only using the impact to just get the starter, and then I just come here with the wrench and tie those down to about like 10 foot-pounds. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Everything is nice and tight. So now that we have swapped the CVT cover, we can proceed and install our washer. It goes in here, and then the nut in place. And then we're gonna torque that into 45 foot-pounds. There we go. Okay, so then you have installed your CVT cover. The next thing will be to clean up the filter. You got this little filter. We're gonna give it a nice clean because it's all dusty. You see all that dust? Let's give it a nice clean. Let's rinse it with water, soap it with water, let it dry, and swap it back in. Once we have cleaned up our filters, you see how nice looking they are. Got the nice Malossi one and the little one, nice and clean. You can see even my hand through. Okay, let's now run the scooter, see how everything works. For a ride to see how is that Polini High Speed, baby.